Hey everyone, hope you're enjoying your summer. My summer was even better because I gave myself an early birthday present. I went and saw opening night of Spider-Man Far From Home. So, like I have for the past couple of movies I've seen, I wanted to talk about it with my geeky friends, and instead of redoing the same conversation, I thought I'd just throw it up on the video for them to look at and anybody else who cares what I think about the movie. Just so you know, this stream of consciousness will not be perfect. I will go about 5-10 minutes, and I will also do full spoilers because there's so much cool stuff to talk about. So if you haven't seen the movie, go see it and come back. And here we go. So anytime you talk about a movie, you should talk about the star first. So Spider-Man, Tom Holland is he's a treasure. He is so charismatic. He portrays a Peter Parker that I didn't grow up reading, which is fine. I think it's a good story. And I like what he's doing with the character. So he does a great job. I'll talk more about him in a second. His romantic foil, Zendaya, also does an incredible job. Hopefully I said that right. Hopefully I said that right. If I didn't, my students will let me know. But yeah, she was great. She again, like Tom, is portraying MJ, but definitely not Mary Jane Watson that I grew up reading. And I kind of wish they'd given her a different character name just because it's such a different character, but I like what she's doing. I think it's great. I love the the dry, sarcastic sense of humor from a very intelligent place. I teach AP, so I've had several of those students, and she just does an awesome job. I've had students like Peter and like Ned and like Betty and Flash. So all those archetypes, they did a great job. So all that was good. One of the things that was crucial for the movie was the villain, which is Mysterio, and they just just kudos to Feige and in this case McKenna and Summers. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I had no clue how they were going to bring Mysterio into a movie that was in any way realistic, and they did a great job. Powers wise, the idea of the drone, brilliant, just absolutely brilliant between the illusions and the drone. I thought that was incredibly well done. The fighting, especially between Spider-Man and Mysterio, total sense, mind bending like it should have been, and really really well done. I also like how they tied it into previous movies. Feige is just a master of this, and I like how former Stark employees, with how much Stark was prominent in this movie, and who didn't see the good of him, got fired by him, got his life's work just belittled by him in a very embarrassing way. So I totally got it. So I like that. I just wish they had kind of taken another step with the character. I didn't get why he had to kill so many people. Why I didn't get what was so important about him pretending to be a superhero. I'm a teacher, not a professional screenwriter. I would have liked to, just how like with the Vulture, they tied that into the Battle of New York. I wish they would have tied his origin, Mysterio's origin, with the blip, maybe. Because what I could see is I needed a higher level of evil. I needed like higher stakes on why he would do this stuff beyond just hubris. Because what do you do once you're a superhero? It doesn't make sense. What to me, off the top of my head, what I would have suggested is I would have suggested that everything that they did, everything up to that point, where he gets fired, and then I think the blip happens and he's gone. And instead of having the dumb joke about the wife leaving during the hikers thing, I would have had he comes back, but his family, his wife and kids have moved on. Like they don't want anything to do with him anymore. So what happens is that he and these other employees were also blipped, and their lives were just ruined by the blip. And so what happens is that that's why they need to become superheroes. That's why they need to be on the inside, because were all brilliant people who weren't consulted, weren't part of it, and they can't trust these superheroes who are so self-centered to do the right thing. And so that to me would have kind of amped up the stakes, would have made them more sympathetic, but would have also heightened the stakes. Anyway, that's just me. One of the things I loved, I was expecting Tony to loom large, which he did, and Peter trying to deal with that. But I I, the thing is, that's so cool about Tom's performance is he's the archetype of the innocent, which I've gone through archetypes with my kids before. I do social studies, so hopefully I'm getting this right. But um, that's kind of one of the defining characteristics of Tom and Tom's character of Peter Parker. And to watch him kind of wrestle with that, and not in a sensationalistic way, it was just really interesting. Because I've seen the trope, there's been this trope all over the time, all over the place with superheroes. With, hey, this hero doesn't want to be a hero. He doesn't want to put on the suit. He doesn't want to fight, which makes no sense because it's called the Incredible Hulk, not Bruce Banner's having a pity party. So like, turn into the Hulk already, okay? So or with Batman or whatever, any other heroes, it's like I understand what you're trying to do. I just don't buy it. I just don't buy why somebody wouldn't want to be a superhero. And this is the first time that writers and actors have made me believe, because Peter Parker is a character who's innocent, who keeps getting the rug pulled out from under him. First with Uncle Ben's death, and then being a superhero, and then Tony Stark's death. And he's just like, it's not that he's immature, it's not that he's self-centered, it's not that he doesn't want to, it's just that he's a kid. he's a teenager, and he wants to be a teenager, and it's not like he wants to stay there forever. He's not immature, it's just that he possibly because of these deaths, he just understands life is fleeting, and this is his chance to be 16 or 17 and kiss MJ, and that's what he wants. I thought that was incredibly well done. Well, the hand off the glasses, incredibly well written and acted by Jake and by Tom. And I just that was amazing. And the same thing with Zendaya. The love story. It's not quite love yet. It's like the like story. It was just so relatable to me. It just took me back to high school, where everyone just has no clue who they are. They're trying on different characters. And, and I see it, I would imagine I see it, I would guess I see it all the time at my high school when I'm teaching. Kids are trying to figure it out. And, so I liked how MJ, was kind of one note in Homecoming in a decent way. But, we see those layers, and it's exemplified by that horrendously awkward kiss at the end. Where they like kiss and they're like both like, oh my God, did I do that right? Did I use tongue? Did they? And then it's just like you see the mental map of like, what are we doing? Oh, we don't know, and because we're 16, and it just reminded me as so much media pushes kids to be sexually active and to be adults in all the sensationalistic ways. I loved how this was like, no, they're teenagers and they want to be teenagers, and they'll get to that stuff. It's coming, but it'll be really interesting to watch Peter and probably MJ just kind of grow on this journey. I can't wait for it. The other thing that one thing that I didn't quite follow, I wasn't quite into, was I just didn't feel the betrayal of Maria Hill and Nick Fury. I didn't like how he was always like 2 or 3 steps behind. Nick Fury to me is like someone like, oh, if you ghost him once, if you send him to voicemail once, then you get knocked out by a trank dart and you wake up an hour later upside down in a warehouse because he needs to talk to you and he wanted to bug you if he doesn't. This guy claims to be from another world and just buying it. Or like, oh, you're from the multiverse. Okay, so who's your counterpart in this world? Like, just easy stuff like that. I just didn't make sense. And I know the thing that you say is, well, wait a second, it's okay. It was the Skrull who was pretending to be Nick Fury, so that's why he wasn't as good. And it's like, oh, okay, but I don't believe Nick Fury would wait every week for a report. Like if the Earth was in danger, he would have been involved. And also I know it's good for some laughs, but the last cutscene, it was just like, oh, Nick Fury on the beach with his shoes off and like a weird T-shirt, and I just don't. Anyway, the Nick Fury in my head, that doesn't make sense. Like the Nick Fury in my head is a guy who like goes to sleep in tactical gear, just in case the chameleon shows up to kill him. That's who I would envision. And then, again, I realized it was probably for laughs, but it was like, so he's helping to build what I'm guessing is sword, which is kind of like shield for outer space to protect the Earth. So he's helping to build that, but he kind of gets up cranky and yells, "Hey, get back to work!" And it's like, you're in space with Skrulls who know more about space than you do. You were the one goofing off, and you're the douchebag who's telling them to get back to work. I don't know. But again, I'm not those guys. So whatever. There are definitely some good Nick Fury moments in there, but yeah. So it was good. It was good to see him. I just wish he would have been more on top of things, or portrayed more on top of things. The other thing another thing I liked, I loved the Daily Bugle, the first cutscene, brilliant, to make it kind of like an InfoWars thing, and Simmons coming back as Triple J was JJJ, was a nice treat that I wasn't expecting, and it makes total sense. And I like how smart Fiji and the writers are here, in kind of bringing this to life, because. Again, you've got the situation that like I and a lot of people live through with like the National Enquirer. Like you've got these like weird news sources, and before the Enquirer was just a joke, and then the O.J. Simpson murders happen, and suddenly they're reporting things. They're scooping legitimate news sources, and it's playing, and so it's kind of one of the big things I think that's led to this slide of us not kind of trusting which I can say the media is horrible, right? because of those things, and because they were brilliant, because you start off with, hey, falsified footage of, hey, Spider-Man really caused the attacks, and then it moves on to and by the way, his name is Peter Parker, and it's great because it's like, oh, the Inquirer has been wrong so many times, so many times, but they get it right once in a blue moon, and everyone's like, oh, it's a legitimate news source. So I think it'll be, I can't wait to see how they do that. And it was very smart to have Peter get outed as Spider-Man. It just the way they're portraying Peter Parker, and how kind of, he's not dumb, he's kind of lackadaisical. I mean, in a world with mobile phones everywhere, there's no way you would be, if people wanted to figure out who Spider-Man was, they'd figure it out pretty quick. So I'm glad they did that. But yeah, overall, great movie. I need to see it again to kind of put it really in the pantheon. I've never numbered the Spider-Man movies, like how good they were. I think Into the Spider-Verse is probably my favorite, and I realize I probably should do a video on that. And so I'll probably do that one next. And then I'd put this one off the top of my head. I'd put it, right below Homecoming. I'm probably Spider-Verse, Homecoming, then a lot of the other Spider movies, Spidey 2 and Spidey 1, probably about the same place. And it was a very unique story. It was incredibly well done. So again, big kudos to Kevin, Watts, McKenna, Summers. You guys were great. The actors were amazing. Whoever does casting, you're brilliant. Thank you so much for this wonderful movie, and I hope you enjoyed the video. See you later.